Well, as March approaches, we're here with everyone's favorite bracketologist, Joe Lunardi. Joe, thanks for giving us a few minutes. Joe, talk to us a little bit about what your day entails, kind of as the season winds down and as you start to become probably the most famous bracketologist in all of America.
I don't know that that's a great label, but I'll take it. And a typical day is first going to work and doing my regular job most days at St. Joe's, but then tracking every game, really, results of those games and its impact on what we call the seed list, or the S-curve that goes from 1 through 68. So we're constantly updating that group of teams to allow for upsets. You know, an example tonight, we just learned that Syracuse lost at home in overtime to Boston College, so everybody's going to be asking tonight, is Syracuse still a #1 seed? Is Syracuse still the #1 overall seed? So we'll take a look and see what all the other top teams, because all 4 #1 seeds playing in the same night, which is unusual for a weeknight, and we might have to juggle that top line a little bit.
Take us through A10. And teams that you would expect to hear their names and have them put into your bracket when Selection Sunday rolls around.
Well, for sure, St. Louis, even in a dogfight tonight with George Mason, their overall body of work and number of wins is just too great. So St. Louis will be in the tournament. I believe VCU is the second best team in the league. They will be in the tournament. UMass and George Washington have both had terrific non-conference seasons, but have taken a little bit of a hit in league play. I think they'll hang on. And then you've got 3 other teams, St. Joseph's, Richmond, and Dayton, all trying to play themselves into the conversation and stay there right through March the 16th when we see the final field.
Your opinion, who would have the best chance to make a deep run from the A10 in the NCAA tournament?
I would have to go with St. Louis because they're so hard to play against. I think you can certainly make it to the second weekend. I think eventually they're going to play teams that are more athletic than they are, and they may not be able to keep up from an offensive standpoint against, a Florida or a Kansas or a Syracuse, teams of that nature. But they're certainly good enough to win more than one game in the tournament.
So we transition from the A10 to around the country. A team, as folks are starting to look at their brackets, might be a sleeper they might not know too much about. And kind of who you like. Who's a dark horse for you?
Well, you're killing me now because last year I told everybody Wichita State, and that turned out to be pretty good. We can't say that now because they're the last undefeated team in the country. And I would have said St. Louis, but you already asked me a St. Louis question. I think the best team in the country, if healthy, is Michigan State. They're not completely healthy, so who knows? We've seen greatness from Creighton. That might be seated outside the top 4 lines. Texas, I think, has really overachieved this year. Might be seated outside the top 4 lines and be a bit of a sleeper. Cal has beaten Arizona, so they're maybe a sleeper out west. And, of course, San Diego State, a team that we never see, generally speaking, but certainly going to make its mark in the bracket.
Would be a team that might have a lot to lose here going down the stretch, really has to kind of be on their guard so they don't stumble seeding-wise.
Well, if you talk the top of the bracket, the teams that are playing for seeding, they tend to be a little bit more relaxed and maybe have an off night like a Syracuse did tonight. I think the real desperation are the kind of teams like we saw St. Joseph's tonight here in the last 10 or 12 minutes of the game. I mean, to be honest, did not play well for the bulk of the night, but knows this is a loss it can't afford if it's going to stay in the conversation. So you look at bubble teams in the middle of the multi-bid leagues, and it just gets crazy how intense their games are down the stretch.
And conversely, who would have a team that would have a chance to really improve its seeding and kind of help its cause?
Well, I actually thought last night Providence, in that narrow escape by Villanova here in Rhode Island, could have really cemented itself and now has work to do.
Last question for you. When it's all said and done, Mr. Bracketology, Joey Brackets, if you have any other names, feel free to throw them out. Who walks away and who wins the whole thing?
Well, I'm never very good at that. It's going to be some lady at the office who picks on uniform colors, right?
Or where they want to live.
I'm going to say if Michigan State is healthy, they're the best team.
And if they're not?
Syracuse.
Thanks so much, Joe.